Let me tell y'all something. Relationships ain't no walk in the park. Anybody can fall in love, but staying in love and building something solid, that's where the real work comes in. The truth is, most of us are not struggling with love itself. We're struggling with the issues that come with two different people trying to move as one. You take two folks, each with their own upbringing, their own baggage, their own expectations, and you put them together under one roof, you best believe there's going to be some challenges. But hear me on this. It's not about avoiding problems. It's about learning how to handle them so you don't lose something worth fighting for. The most challenging issues in relationships ain't new. They've been around forever, but how we deal with them determines if we grow or if we go. See, love is easy to say but hard to live. You can't just say, I love you, and think that's enough to hold two people together when the storms hit. Now, you got to show up for each other even when it's uncomfortable. The real test of love is not how you feel when everything's smooth. It's how you handle each other when life gets rough. You know, one of the toughest things in a relationship ain't money, it ain't family, it ain't even cheating. It's communication. That right there is where most couples lose the battle. See, people think communication is just talking, but it's not. Talking is one thing, but real communication is being heard, understood, and respected. And a lot of folks don't get that part. You can say all the words you want, but if the other person ain't listening, it's like you're throwing rocks into the ocean. You don't see nothing come back. Most couples don't even argue about what they think they're arguing about. They argue about not feeling heard. A woman will tell a man something 10 times, but if he don't really listen, she's not mad about the situation. She's mad about being ignored. And men, we're just as guilty because sometimes we shut down. We hear her talking, but we ain't processing. We just waiting for the noise to stop. That silence, that I don't want to talk about it right now, that becomes a wall. And once that wall goes up, the relationship starts to suffer. Let me break it down this way. Communication is like oxygen for love. If you cut it off, everything suffocates. People stop sharing their thoughts, their feelings, their needs, and pretty soon they start looking for somebody else who will listen. And I don't mean cheating. Sometimes it's just a friend. Sometimes it's family. But it's somebody outside the relationship because the inside is too quiet. When your partner can't talk to you, they will talk to somebody, and that's where cracks begin to form. Another problem is that we don't communicate the way our partner understands. Men and women, we speak two different languages. Man might say, I'm tired, and he means just that. Leave me alone, I need rest. A woman might say, I'm tired, and what she really means is, I'm overwhelmed. I need help. I need you to notice me. But if he takes her words at face value, she feels ignored. That's how little things blow up into big fights, because it wasn't about the words. It was about the meaning behind them. And then there's honesty. Too many relationships are built on half-truths and assumptions. You got to say what you mean, even if it's uncomfortable, because silence breeds resentment. If you don't like something, say it with love. If you need something, speak up. Don't expect your partner to read your mind. Ain't nobody a psychic. Closed mouths don't get fed. And in a relationship, closed hearts don't get healed. But let me tell you the secret that makes communication work. It's not just about talking. It's about listening with the intent to understand, not the intent to reply. That's where most of us go wrong. We listen just to shoot back our own side. We don't pause. We don't empathize. We don't step into their shoes. But when you take the time to actually hear your partner out, when you make them feel safe enough to express themselves without judgment, you win half the battle right there. Because everybody deep down just wants to feel valued and understood. It takes effort, it takes patience, and it takes humility. You got to be willing to put your pride aside and say, I hear you, I understand you, and I care about how you feel. That little sentence can stop a war before it starts. Communication is the glue that holds love together, and without it, you're just two people living under the same roof, strangers with a title. Trust is the backbone of every relationship. Without it, I don't care how much love, how much passion, or how many years you've got together. It's like building a house on sand. It's only a matter of time before it sinks. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's never the same. You can repair it, you can rebuild it, but that crack will always be there as a reminder. And the thing about trust is it doesn't disappear in one big moment most of the time. It fades little by little. Every time you don't keep your word, every time you hide something small, every time you let pride get in the way of honesty. See, people underestimate how much weight trust carries. You can love somebody with everything in you, but if you don't trust them, you'll never rest easy. You'll always be second guessing, always looking over your shoulder, always checking for signs. And that constant suspicion will eat away at the relationship until there's nothing left but tension. Love without trust is like a car without gas. It looks good, but it won't take you anywhere. The biggest mistake folks make with trust is assuming it's automatic. Just because you're together doesn't mean your partner owes you blind trust from day one. No, trust is earned, and it's earned through consistency. It's in the way you show up when you say you will. It's in keeping promises big and small. It's in choosing transparency over secrecy, even when it would be easier to stay quiet. Every time you do those things, you put another brick on the foundation. But the minute you start breaking promises, hiding details, or living a double life, those bricks crumble fast. Now, when trust is broken, it's a whole other mountain to climb. Some people think an apology is enough. Say, "I'm sorry," and everything should be fine. But it don't work like that. Trust don't heal on words, it heals on actions. You can't just talk your way out of a betrayal. You gotta live your way back into being trustworthy. That means patience, that means transparency, that means owning your mistake and being willing to do whatever it takes to prove you're different now. And let me tell you, that's not a 1-week job. That's months, sometimes years, depending on how deep the wound goes. And the person on the other side has a role too. If you say you're going to forgive, you got to actually work toward forgiveness. You can't say you forgive and then throw the mistake back in their face every chance you get. That's not healing, that's punishment, and punishment keeps both of you chained to the past. If you choose to stay, you got to commit to the process of rebuilding. And that requires giving space for change, not just expecting perfection overnight. A lot of relationships fail right here because people either don't have the patience to rebuild or they don't have the discipline to change. But if two people really want it, if they're willing to be honest and transparent every single day, then yeah, trust can be rebuilt. It won't look like it did before. It'll have scars, but scars don't mean weakness. Scars mean survival. The truth is, trust is the most delicate currency you got in a relationship. You can't spend it carelessly. You can't gamble with it. Because once it's gone, you'll realize love alone ain't strong enough to hold two people together. Trust is what lets you sleep at night, knowing your partner is who they say they are, doing what they said they'd do. Without it, you'll always live in doubt, and doubt is the slow death of any love story. One of the biggest reasons relationships fall apart is because people walk into them carrying a list of expectations that no human being can ever meet. We create these fantasies in our head, these perfect pictures of how love is supposed to look. And then when reality doesn't line up with the script we wrote, we feel disappointed, hurt, or even betrayed. But the truth is, it was never the other person's fault. It was the weight of unrealistic expectations crushing the relationship from the inside. A lot of people go into love thinking it's supposed to look like the movies, all romance and grand gestures every day, no arguments, no flaws. But real life ain't like that. Love is not a fairy tale. It's work, it's patience, it's compromise. You're not going to wake up every morning with butterflies. You're not going to have somebody reading your mind and fulfilling every single need without you saying a word. That's not love. That's a fantasy. And when you expect fantasy out of a real, breathing, imperfect person, you set yourself up for disappointment. See, people expect their partner to be everything all at once: a best friend, a therapist, a financial advisor, a cheerleader, a protector, a provider, a comedian, a mind reader, a problem solver. And when they fall short in one area, suddenly it's like the whole relationship is broken. But let's be honest, you can't even live up to that list yourself. You have your off days, your weak moments, your moods, your struggles. So why would you demand perfection from someone else when you can't give it? Unrealistic expectations also show up in timing. Some people expect things to move at the speed of their desires. They want instant success, instant intimacy, instant stability. But love takes time to grow. Trust takes time to build. Stability takes years of sacrifice and partnership. You can't just snap your fingers and have a dream relationship. If you're not patient, if you don't let the process play out, you'll always feel like what you have isn't enough, even when it's actually healthy and strong. Another trap is comparing your relationship to somebody else's. That's one of the worst expectations you can carry. Thinking your love should look like your friends or like that couple on social media. You don't see their struggles. You don't see their fights. You don't see the nights they cry behind closed doors. You only see the highlight reel. So you set up an expectation that your love should look picture perfect like theirs. And when it doesn't, you start questioning what's wrong with yours. That comparison will rob you of gratitude for the blessings you do have. And let's not forget the biggest unrealistic expectation of them all, thinking your partner should make you happy all the time. Nobody can do that. Your happiness is your job first. If you're not happy with yourself, you will drain your partner trying to make them fill the hole inside you. A relationship can bring joy, yes, but it's not supposed to carry all your emotional weight. Expecting another human being to be responsible for your happiness is like expecting one candle to light a whole city. It's too much to put on one person. The way you beat disappointment in relationships is by replacing unrealistic expectations with real standards. There's a difference between expecting perfection and holding someone accountable. You should expect honesty, loyalty, respect, and effort. Those are healthy standards. But don't expect flawlessness. Don't expect someone to read your mind or never let you down. Love is not about finding a perfect person. It's about finding someone willing to grow with you through the imperfections. When you understand that, when you let go of fantasy and embrace reality, you can finally see the beauty in what you have instead of always chasing something that doesn't exist. One of the deadliest things in a relationship ain't always cheating. It ain't always money problems. It's pride. Pride is like poison in love because it convinces you that being right is more important than being together. And the moment you start choosing your ego over your partner, you stop moving forward as a team. Pride is sneaky too. It shows up in little ways. It shows up when you refuse to apologize, even though deep down you know you were wrong. It shows up when you shut down in an argument instead of admitting that you got hurt. It shows up when you'd rather win a fight than fix the bond. That attitude, if you let it live too long, will build walls higher than any argument ever could. The truth is, relationships are not about keeping score, but pride will have you thinking every disagreement is a battle you gotta win. You start thinking, I'm not gonna be the first one to call. I'm not gonna be the first one to say sorry. I'm not gonna let them think they got the upper hand. Meanwhile, both of you are sitting there in silence, suffering, waiting for the other one to break. That silence is where distance grows, because pride cares more about appearances than connection. It cares more about power than love. And love can't breathe in that kind of environment. I've seen couples waste years because of pride. One person messes up, but instead of just owning it, they cover it up, they justify it, they twist it, all because they don't want to look weak. But honesty is not weakness. Humility is not weakness. It takes strength to say, I was wrong. It takes courage to say, I'm sorry. Pride might feel strong in the moment, but it's really fragile because it's built on fear of being vulnerable. And vulnerability, whether people like it or not, is the real secret to intimacy. You can't build closeness without being open, without being honest, without dropping the armor. Pride also blocks growth. When you refuse to admit your faults, you can't learn from them. You just repeat the same mistakes over and over, dragging the relationship through the same cycles. Maybe you don't want to hear your partner's feedback. Maybe you don't want to be called out. But if you shut it down every time, you stay stuck. And stuck relationships turn bitter fast. Two people can love each other, but if neither one is willing to bend, eventually something snaps. Think about it. Love is about compromise, about give and take. But pride is selfish. Pride says, my way or no way. Pride says, if I'm uncomfortable, then nothing happens. But when you put two proud people in one relationship, you get a tug of war instead of a partnership. Nobody wins that game. Even if you think you're winning by not backing down, you're actually losing the connection, the peace, and the joy that you could have had if you just humbled yourself for a moment. And pride doesn't just affect the arguments. It affects the love. When you let pride sit in your heart, you stop showing affection. You stop being soft. You stop being attentive. You stop being kind because you don't want to feel like you're giving more than you're getting. So you hold back, and when you hold back, so does your partner. Before you know it, you're living in a house with no warmth, two people who care but are too stubborn to show it. That's how relationships die slow deaths, starved by pride. The solution ain't complicated, but it's not easy either. You got to put love above ego. You got to choose peace over being right. You got to be willing to go first in apologizing, in forgiving, in showing kindness. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Because at the end of the day, nobody remembers who was right in an argument, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do in a relationship, but it's also one of the most necessary. Because the truth is, no matter how much you love somebody, they're going to hurt you at some point. Maybe not in a big, scandalous way, but in the everyday mistakes, the thoughtless words, the times they didn't show up how you needed them to. We're all human, and humans fall short. If you expect perfection, you'll never last with anybody. That's why forgiveness has to be at the heart of love. Without it, resentment builds up, and resentment is like rust. It eats away at the foundation until the whole thing crumbles. Now, don't get me wrong. Forgiveness doesn't mean you ignore the pain or act like nothing happened. It doesn't mean you let somebody keep mistreating you. What it means is that you make a choice not to let bitterness control you. You release the grip that anger has on your heart. Because carrying grudges is heavy work. Every time you see that person, every conversation, every reminder of the past, it weighs you down. Forgiveness isn't just a gift to your partner, it's a gift to yourself because it gives you peace. A lot of couples struggle with forgiveness because they confuse it with forgetting. They think, if I forgive, then I have to erase it like it never happened. No, that's not true. Forgiveness is saying, yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt. But I'm choosing to move forward instead of staying stuck in that moment. You can forgive and still remember, but you don't let the memory keep you hostage. The real test of forgiveness comes when pride and pain clash. Maybe your partner said something in anger that cut you deep, or maybe they broke your trust in a way that shook you. Your first instinct is to protect yourself, to shut down, to hold on to that hurt like armor. But that armor keeps love out too. The longer you hold on to the hurt, the more distance you create. You start living side by side, but not heart to heart. That's why forgiveness is so critical. It keeps the connection alive. And forgiveness ain't always instant. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes effort. Sometimes it takes seeing real change before your heart can fully let go. That's okay. Forgiveness is a process, not a switch. But if you're committed to the relationship, you gotta be committed to walking that process. Otherwise, you're just dragging the past into every present moment, and you can't build a future that way. Another thing people don't realize is that forgiveness has to be mutual. You can't demand forgiveness, but never give it. You can't expect grace when you slip up, but hold a grudge forever when your partner does. Relationships are give and take, and both people are going to need forgiveness at some point. The question is, are you both willing to extend it? Because if one of you is always forgiving and the other is always offending, that balance breaks down. Forgiveness has to come with effort to do better, or else it's just empty words. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You make a mistake, you hurt the person you love, and even when they forgive you, you still carry the guilt. But holding on to guilt keeps you stuck, just like holding on to anger does. If you want to grow as a partner, you gotta learn from your mistakes, make it right, and then forgive yourself too. Otherwise, you'll live in shame, and shame will stop you from fully showing up in the relationship. The truth is, love without forgiveness won't survive. Two imperfect people trying to build something together have to be willing to let things go. If you want peace, if you want joy, if you want a relationship that lasts, you can't keep a scoreboard of every wrong. You got to choose forgiveness over revenge, healing over hurting, and love over pride. Feelings are wonderful, but they come and go. One day you wake up feeling like you're on top of the world, completely in love, and the next day life throws something at you. Stress at work, money troubles, family drama, and those warm, fuzzy feelings don't feel as strong. If your relationship is only built on how you feel in the moment, it won't last because feelings are temporary. Commitment is what carries you through when the feelings fade. Commitment is that choice you make every single day to stay, to fight, to love, even when it's not easy. A lot of people confuse chemistry with commitment. They think because the butterflies are strong at the beginning, that's what love is supposed to feel like forever. But butterflies don't last forever. That's the spark, not the flame. The flame comes from commitment, the decision to keep tending the fire, to keep adding wood, to keep protecting it from the wind. Without commitment, the spark dies out and people start chasing a new spark somewhere else. That's why so many relationships don't survive past the honeymoon phase. Folks think feelings are supposed to sustain it, but it's commitment that makes love endure. Commitment shows up in the hard times. Anybody can stay when everything is good. But when the bills are late, when you're both stressed, when sickness hits, when family pressures pile on, that's when you find out if you've got commitment or just feelings. Feelings will tell you to run, to protect yourself, to look for something easier. Commitment tells you to stay, to figure it out, to stand shoulder to shoulder with your partner and weather the storm together. That's the kind of bond that lasts. Another thing people miss is that commitment is a choice, not an emotion. You don't wake up and say, do I feel like being loyal today? Do I feel like showing respect today? Do I feel like putting in effort today? No, you decide. You decide to honor your word, to be faithful, to treat your partner with love, even when your emotions are all over the place. Commitment is doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you set it in has passed. That's what separates real love from infatuation. Commitment also means sacrifice. You can't always get your way. You can't always put yourself first. Sometimes you have to compromise. Sometimes you have to bend. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride for the sake of the bigger picture. That doesn't mean you lose yourself. It means you value the relationship enough to put in the work. People who think love should always be convenient don't understand what commitment really is. It's about choosing the relationship even when it costs you something, because you know the reward of building together is greater than the temporary comfort of going solo. Feelings are important, don't get me wrong. They make love sweet. They make the bond exciting. They remind you why you fell for that person. But feelings are like the weather, they shift. Commitment is like the foundation of a house. It stays, it holds, it keeps everything standing when the storms come. If you build on feelings alone, every storm will knock you down. But if you build on commitment, you'll find that even when the feelings dip, the love survives, and those feelings eventually come back stronger because you stayed long enough to see them through. The truth is, every lasting relationship is built on two people who made a decision. No matter how I feel today, I choose you. That's not glamorous, that's not always romantic, but it's powerful. Because feelings might start the love, but commitment is what keeps it alive